right, this is episode number 1 of the Iron Sharpens Iron video podcast, Dualcast, Deluxe, Ultra Edition, Type 2. So I'm MJ. I own Iron Ordnance along with my best friends and business partners. And this is Brad. Brad is the most capable hunter I've ever met in my entire life. He doesn't go hunting, he goes killing. In this segment of our show, of the YouTube channel, we want to talk to people we know. We want to get stories. We want to do, get people's insight and stuff like that, and just talk about cool shit and try to do it in one take. So right now we're not monetized, so you can cuss all you want. I'm gonna cuss a lot. Later on I'll have to edit it out because otherwise then I can't make money off of this. Yeah. Which isn't really the point.
No,
I don't want to make money. Like I just want to, I don't know.
Just kind of get like a group of like-minded individuals.
Yeah.
That make a good outcome and what we like to do and a positive outlook and everything.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I want something to be able to say like, we were here, this is what we did, and this is how we did it.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I don't know about you, like my parents hunted, my dad, we hunted growing up and stuff like that. But we're into guns and all this other stuff, and so that obviously bled over to my adult life. But more and more lately, it seems like that is dying out. It's not being passed down to generations.
Yeah.
And so somebody might want to get into this, like YouTube University, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody might want to be like, I want to start hunting. No one in my family's ever hunted. No one in my family's ever been a gunsmith. I don't even know which end of the gun, the bullet comes out of, but I want to learn how to do this stuff. And so what do people do? They go to YouTube, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to be a good source of information for everything. Like I want people to know what's going on with our rights, with our hunting rights, with our gun rights, with our public land access rights.
Yes.
I want people to be able to get technical information, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So here we are today. So like we're at like kind of like the end of hunting season now.
Yep.
And you've had a pretty good year.
Yeah.
So start with your first hunt this year was like your spring bear hunt, right?
Yeah. Correct.
And you got that. You made it into the Oregon trophy book.
I haven't submitted the form yet.
Okay.
But it's gonna make in the Oregon book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, start with that. Tell us, tell us the story briefly and
was
the gun you used and all that good stuff.
it was a really, really rough hunt. That's for sure. I mean,
spring bear hunts are usually.
Oh yeah, right? Especially Oregon seasons. It's from
it's wet and
April
snowing.
1st or November 31st, and usually throughout April there's about snow everywhere. It seems like in most units, but yeah, I went the whole entire season not seeing any fresh bear sign or any of that, and I was all over the unit. And then I was getting close to waving the white flag until about it was May 29th.
So that's a long season, right? April 1st, you said it starts?
Yeah, till May 31st.
Okay, so it's 2 months long.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So I took a week off of vacation, I think it was middle of May, and went balls to the wall, hard on it, but did not see anything. Did not see anything at all, and I'm like, man, I might not see a bear this season, which is kind of a little bit unusual. The weather kind of played a factor and everything too. But
yeah, we had some late snow.
Yeah, it was just a weird year this year. But it was May 29th. It was my last full day to hunt. So there was a spot I wanted to hit, just like kind of like the last hoorah. So I parked the pickup, and this spot, it's like you get off the road and it's like straight up like that. And it's like, well, about 3 or 4 years ago in this spot, I ran into a sow and 2 cubs when I was shed hunting. I was like, well, I'll give it one last shot. And I was packing around at 300 Norma Magnum all season, but I knew what I was going to get into. So
Yeah,
I
so
was back in the 30-06. So I left the pickup. It was pouring rain, and I made up this steep hillside. And I about got to the draw where I wanted to be, where I saw the sow and cubs about 3-4 years prior. Then it turned into snow.
How far did you hike?
Probably maybe only 1,000 yards, 800 yards.
How much like elevation gain though?
Felt like 1,000 feet, but it wasn't.
So it was pretty much.
Yeah, it was about maybe like 500 foot gain, somewhere around there.
Okay.
So as it started snowing, I took off my quarter zip, put on my jacket, zipped up my pack and everything, and I walked maybe about 10 yards, and I look up. There's this big boar just standing there broadside looking at me, and I thought I was dreaming. not gonna lie, but it was so majestic too. I'll never forget this. It was snowing, and he was standing there looking at me. It was like something off of a movie.
Yeah,
almost.
Jeremiah Johnson.
Yeah, no kidding. So I pull up my rifle, and I'm circling, and he's just still standing there. I'm like, I know bears don't have good eyesight, but the wind was kind of a little bit off. So I'm like, he's gonna win me. So I kneel down, I take a deep breath, and I touch one off, and he just stiff leg and just rolls. I'm like,
he does the bear bowling ball.
Yeah. He like rolled for probably about 350 yards. It sounded like down, and I'm like, and I'm kind of in shock because everything happened probably within like a minute, and I immediately call up my manager. I'm like, hey, I got a big bear down. He goes, really? I'm like, yeah. He goes, and I was like, come meet me at this spot and we'll get him out. He goes, okay, sounds good. I'll meet you there in about an hour or something like that. So I walk up. I called my dad too, and I was like, hey, guess what? I finally got a bear. He goes, no way. He goes, I'll come over and I'll help you. I'm like, he's like 3.5 hours away. So he gets his pickup, he's driving. So I go up to where the bear was standing. Saw no blood, no anything. So I'm like, all right. So I kind of hiked down a little bit, trying to find blood, no blood. So I hiked straight back up. It was like, I'm looking for roll marks. I finally found the roll marks, and I'm like, okay, good. I'm on the right path. So I hiked down more, no blood. I'm like, I know I hit this bear good. Go down, there's this big, huge shrub and this rock outcropping. And I look, I'm like, he's not in there. I'm like, come on. So I walk back up, and I go straight down again. I finally found this stalk of skunk cabbage. It had a ton of blood everywhere. I'm like, okay, perfect. So this is like the 4th time going up and down. I finally go down a little bit, and then it was probably like 100 yards more. I see him piled up in another huge brush patch, another rock outcropping. I'm like,
at any point were you just like, I'm not gonna find this thing? It's gone.
No. I was dedicated.
Yeah.
You know, and so I see him, and he's all piled up. So I do the whole little rifle trick.
Yeah,
barrel trick's like, okay, he's dead, cool. So I ended up dragging him out. I ended up rolling him like another 50 yards so I can get him uphill so I can get the field dressing part done. So then I get that done, go down, meet my manager. We go up, and he just got done with a huge pack out with the bear his buddy got 2 days prior. So nice. I was messing with him. He goes, so how far is he? Oh, about 2 miles straight up. He goes, okay, let's do it. It's like, no, I'm just kidding. As crow flies, probably only about 462 yards. So that bear really rolled. So we go up there and everything, and I was like, so what do you want to do? You want to quarter him out, or you just want to just roll him, lift him up over reprod and everything, roll him down to this little nasty goat trail, side road? He goes, let's just roll him. I'm like, all right, sounds good. So we get him rolled down. I pull my pickup up, and we take 3 takes. We couldn't lift him in the back of my pickup. So I was like, okay, one more time. So I bear hugged this, no pun intended. I bear hugged this bear and I lift up as hard as I could, and he lifted up as hard as he could too. We finally got back in my pickup. So we go down and
this is after you field dressed it. So
yeah,
it's already
yeah.
lost its
Oh yeah. Probably about on average a bear's guts are about 70 to 100 pounds maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So we take down to ODF&W and we get checked in, and I asked the biologist there, I'm like, so how many bears have came from this unit? He goes, this is only like the fourth one we've checked in. I'm like, really?
So is that something you have to do with every bear during bear season?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to get checked in because they got to get the tooth and everything. They
Gotcha.
get like for like an age.
Oh yeah.
An age study.
Okay.
And then they put like a blue tag around the nostril and everything, so it's like checked in. So if you want it taxidermied or anything, it's like, oh, okay, this bear's been legally taken.
Gotcha.
So we can go on with it. So then we were curious. We're like, I wonder how much it weighs. So I got the scale out, back in the pickup, put on the scale without the guts. He was like 276 pounds.
Damn.
For a spring bear. He had about that much fat on him too. When my dad got him all skinned out, it was a big bear, and I ended up getting the skull measured it's December now, in October. So I had plenty of time for like the drying period and all that stuff. 19 and 12/16 inches. A quarter inch away from Boone and Crockett.
Dang.
But big enough for the Oregon book, so that
Nice.
was pretty cool. And he ate so good too.
Nice.
Probably the best tasting bear I've ever had.
Right on.
Yeah.
So what was your first when you first walked up to it, were you like, this is an unusually large bear, or did it not really sink in until later that you're like, oh, this might be like trophy size?
When I saw him standing, I'm like, this is probably going to be maybe one of the biggest bears I've ever shoot. But, the whole ground shrinkage. I walked up to that bear, and even though he was like balled up and everything, there was not much ground shrinkage at all. I'm like, this is a good bear. His paws are probably about that big around too. So yeah, I was like, because there's ground shrinkage on everything, but with that guy, no, not at all. But yeah, that was a super memorable, super tough hunt.
What'd you end up using for ammo?
Just factory 165 grain nozzle Acubons.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, Acubon's a good bullet.
Yep. I love it. Yeah, that's all. In that 30-06, I've all shot factory ammo.
Yeah.
Nozzlers.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I reload for everything. But I have my wife's hunting rifle actually, and like it feels dirty to say because like it's my wife's rifle. I should reload for it.
Yeah.
And I've done load development on it, and I did it with nozzler partitions. And man, that thing shoots the Federal Gold Medal Berger 140 grain hybrid. Like I can't do better than this factory ammo. Like I could probably match it, but I'm like, why?
Yeah.
It's like $35 a box at Weimar, and they almost always have it. I've got like 8 boxes of it now because I'm just gonna keep shooting this and then I could change things up, but now she's gotten used to it, and I've gotten used to it.
Yeah.
I know what this rifle will do and everything, so I'm like, I'm just gonna keep.
Yeah, whatever works.
Keep works.
Yeah, whatever works. Can't change it up.
Yeah.
You can't change it up. But that bear in 2022, I was with your 140 grain.
Oh, with the 6.5 piercing.
Yeah, that was a one shot kill bear at 297 yards with that.
How was your shot placement on the one this year? Was it right where you wanted it?
Oh yeah,
nice.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Because you said you were under 100 yards away, right?
It was probably it's probably about 125.
Okay.
120-ish, maybe a little over 100.
Comfortable distance, but still, when you've been hiking uphill.
Oh yeah.
You're taking a shot offhand or from a kneeling position, like that
freaking heart rate.
That vital zone looks like it's about that big around. So
yeah, and of course with bears too, what a lot of people don't know is that their vitals sit a little bit farther back.
Okay.
So you got, there's times it's like, oh yeah, right behind the shoulder, shoot, and it's like you're tracking. And it's sometimes, but it's like with bears, you gotta almost center punch them. because they sit a little bit farther back. And
it's probably a good thing too, because their shoulder blades are pretty thick.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
they would stop a lot of, energy transfer. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then basically fast forward to deer season, right? Did you go out of state this year?
No.
For anything in the summer?
No.
So then your next hunt was, your next hunt was elk season,
yep, elk
right?
season.
Because then you did muzzleloader deer this year.
Yep.
So okay, tell me about the elk hunt, because that was one that I know that you were out there watching this elk for a long time.
Oh, that was a hunt. I had the mindset of like, no matter what, I'm making it happen.
Yeah.
No matter what, I'm making it happen. Kind of like a little bit had like a mindset of, I guess you'd say, like a psychopath. But I mean, even scouting, like it went 2 weeks straight. I was going like 4-5 hours of sleep, sometimes 6 hours of sleep every day. Friggin' probably only eating like less than 1,000 calories a day, sometimes 1,500. Like I was like sleep deprived, starving myself, but like I just had the mindset. I just had to go towards my goal.
Yeah.
But this bull I watched him for 6 days straight before season. And I had him pinpointed, but I knew if I had a chance to kill this bull, because we all know public land.
Yeah.
Opening day, you gotta go with your plan, and after that, it's just...
Yeah, after that, it's crapshoot.
Yep,
so
crapshoot.
You gotta make up your plan as you go along
Yeah,
after that.
yeah.
So.
I got videos of this bull, I got pictures of this bull and everything, and for 6 days straight, I had him pinpointed. But Tuesday before season, someone drove in a road they weren't supposed to because it was a closed road.
Mm-hmm.
And I had, right when I got to my glassing spot, I'm kind of jumping around here, that morning right before I got to my glassing spot, behind me I looked back, there were 2 cow elk in this herd that this bull was in.
Mm-hmm.
So they were coming behind me. I'm like, okay, I need to hurry up and get to my spot. So I did, undetected, and I got to my glassing spot. I was there for about 20 minutes, a half hour, and I heard that bull bugle behind me. I'm like, okay, sounds good. So I stayed there till about 12:30. And it got to the point, it's like, okay, I know where he's at. I know he's not going to come out in the normal spot where I've been seeing him.
Mm-hmm.
I need to come up with a game plan to slowly walk out with undetected.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking in my head, all right, do I take the long way around, get back to my pickup, or do I take the same way and just cut off early? So I stand up, I stretch my legs and everything, and I see his pickup drive in. Right where I walked in, road closed, no one's supposed to be in there. So I'm like, screw it. I'm going to go back same way I did. I'm just going to cut off early and leave that bull where he is.
Yeah.
So, a little irritated. I do that, and I cut off early, and I look up to where I was glassing. I saw 2 bulls up there, so I glassed them. It's the same 2 bulls I've been seeing for a week and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Not him, though.
Mm-hmm.
So, I cut off early. I walk up 700 yards from my pickup. I see elk butts. I'm like, oh no. And I look over, I saw the bull. I bumped him. Oh, so I went in the timber real quick and I just kneeled down. I about cried, not gonna lie. I about cried, not gonna lie. It's like I blew it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But they didn't go far. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go home, get some sleep, recoup for opening day. So my dad shows up that night, and after I had my buddy in that he knows the area too, so I went up, came up with a plan with a good buddy of mine, and so we came up with a game plan for Morton. So I show up back to my place, Dad's getting everything ready for the morning, and I was like, hey, we're gonna get up really early. He goes, how early is really early? I was like, 1:30 a.m.
Jeez.
He looks at me, he goes, "You guys are effing crazy." I'm like, "I know, but
I've done it, man.
I know."
I've gotten up, driven to the spot, and slept. So that way, anybody else that's coming through there is like, "Oh, the spot's already taken."
Yeah.
I've taken many early morning naps in the pickup.
Yeah.
So just to keep people from doing what happened to you, somebody goes down a road they're not supposed to go down. The only way to keep them from doing that is you got to park in the middle of the road right where it says.
Yeah.
And people don't always know because like the travel management and areas in Oregon are there's a map, you can look it up, but I mean you can go down these roads, there's no signs that say they're closed sometimes, and so if you don't know, then you don't know, right?
Yeah.
But also you're not doing your due diligence if you go down there, which a lot of us know with hunting regulations and stuff, like ignorance of the regulations, no excuse. Like you'll still get a ticket, you'll still get a fine, citation or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, and I learn stuff all the time that I'm like, I've been doing that wrong for a long time. You know what I mean? Like every year I have like somebody will tell me, yeah, so blah 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 blah, I did this and that. And I'm like, to myself I'm thinking like I've never done that before, or I do that all the time or whatever. And so you really gotta know your regs. But when you're in the right, you can park right there where you're supposed to stop and keep people from. And I mean it's kind of a crappy move, but hey, if they really want down there, they'll park right next to you and they'll walk down there.
Yeah,
and then there's most people give up.
Yeah,
so.
there's like so many access points too. It's like but it is what it is. Public land. It's,
right.
You can't regulate everybody.
Right. Yeah. You can only make suggestions to people.
Exactly.
Through your presence, you can't. Yeah. You can't just.
But it's obvious that it's like, okay, this is an area no vehicle is supposed to be in. But anyway, so that morning we get to the spot about. We were running a little bit behind, about 3:15 in the morning, and my buddy shows up and all that too, and no one parked next to us. I'm like, perfect. So opening day, we get to our glassing spot and everything, and saw elk, but just cows and everything. But wasn't until about 3:30 in the afternoon I glassed up a group of elk. It was a little bit windy, so it was like I'm not taking a long shot.
Yeah.
So glassed up this group of elk across from where I was. Okay, spike, and usually this big bull hangs out with spikes. They're still herded up. So like, okay, looking, and I look up high. It wasn't that bull, but it was a good herd bull. I'm like, crap. So I grabbed Dad. So I might come up with a game plan because I only have maybe an hour, 15 minutes of daylight left, and I was like, I'm gonna cut off, cross the draw, and try and cut them off where I think they're going. It's like, okay, well, I'll keep on glassing. So I did that. They never came out where they were supposed to. They just hung out up high. I'm like, okay, it is what it is.
So when you glassed them at first, how far were you at that point?
Probably about, the elk down lower, probably about 1,000 yards. That bull up high, he was about probably, 1,500.
Okay, maybe. So you're still way out of range.
Yeah, way out of range. But anyway, they never came out where I thought they were going to come out. Went back to the pickup. Next day, day 2, it was a little bit better day, weather-wise. And I think, the wind was fairly calm too. So I went up to the same glassing spot, and I ended up glassing up a good bull about a mile and a half away with a spike. I'm like, all right, so I glass down a little bit more. I see 2 cows bedded down. So I'm thinking of a game plan. Okay, maybe I should sneak up and over where those cows are bedded, and then just kind of, just glass for the rest of the day. And then right after I was thinking about doing that, tag goes a bull right across from us. And I look, there was a spike bull that came up 600 yards broadside. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go through all that, blow everything out, so we'll just wait. So that late afternoon, Dad, because I was here, Dad was just over the knob over here. So he like, I walk over to him, he's like, there's a good herd bull over there. I'm like, okay, perfect. And it's like, it's in the same spot where I killed my bull last year.
Mm.
I'm like, all right, sounds good. Well, I'm going to try and go up and meet up with those elk and all that. So it took me 20 minutes to go down across this draw, walk all the way back up to this knob where I can cut them off. Well, I missed my 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, perfect. So the next day, I thought to myself, well, there's going to be 30, 40 mile per hour winds.
Oh, Jesus.
And if they do the same thing as what they did last year, I can go up to that knob and wait until they come in. So it was so windy that day, about 40 mile per hour winds. I left the pickup about 6:30ish, somewhere around there, just starting to get a little bit daylight. By the time I got to that knob, I look up and there was a herd of elk about 150 yards away in this bull. So I'm like, okay, so I get down and I belly crawl all the way up this log. I'm watching them, all cows. And then eventually I heard a bull bugle. I'm like, that might be the herd bull that Dad saw. So I'm like, okay, I'm watching. And then I look up to my left, there's another herd coming down. I'm like, okay, perfect. So I put my rifle down and I crawl back to my pack and I drag my pack up and I put my pack over this rock and put my rifle there. And this is about an hour 15, maybe an hour and a half in just watching these elk. And then I'm looking, and this raghorn comes up. I pass him up. So I'm like, okay, I know this herd bull's in here. And then I see the spike come down. I'm like, okay, there's a spike. So I'm waiting. I'm getting a little bit like patient but impatient. Impatiently patient.
Yeah.
You know? And then there's this opening about 330 yards away in front of me. Looking through your glass, probably not like that big. And I turn my binoculars up, I see long tine. I'm like, that's a herd bull in there. I don't know how I didn't see him with all those elk, but I'm like, okay, perfect.
They're out there, man.
Yeah.
Like, you just sit there and look through your binos long enough. People are like, oh, there's nothing out there. Like, just sit there and wait, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you'll see them.
They're
They're either come in or they're there the whole time, you know?
They're like ghosts.
Yeah.
And so I get down, I get a dead rest. And that bull feeds this way. Okay, sounds good. So I'm waiting. And all of a sudden these elk start feeding back where they came from. And then I look through that opening again. There's that bull. He's uphill. I had the crosshairs buried right behind his shoulder right here, uphill. And I about touched it off, but I was like thinking, I saw a cow right below him. I'm like, 40 mile per hour winds. I haven't adjusted my scope, but I know it's going to shoot flat. I don't want to risk hitting that cow in the head. So, put my gun down and waited. So a few minutes go by. I see these cow elk, and the wind is not really in my favor. It's kind of like going at an angle, not quite to them, but they haven't winded me this whole time. But I see these elk, these cows looking around. And then I heard a shot from a suppressor above me. And I'm like, crap, that herd bull. They got that herd bull. It's like, you know, it is what it is. But those elk came barreling out. And I'm like down, I'm looking up because a herd bull is not going to come out with the rest of the herd.
Right,
He's going to come out different. And all of a sudden, I see this big palomino white body. Boop, 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 boop. It was that bull. And I looked, it's like, he's not hurt. So I get down, I was going to wait for him to stop. About 270, I was going to wait for him to stop. I'm like, no, I'm not going to ruin this opportunity. So as he's walking, boom, I shot. And Dad's glassing this from like 2 miles away. He's watching us all go down.
That's cool.
He's like,
we gotta get you guys a phone scope, phone camera mount, phone scope or whatever.
Yeah. So then I shoot, boom, and that bull goes like this, and then he peels around the knob and away from the herd. It's like, okay, I know I hit that bull good. And Dad's text me. He's like, that's that bull you're watching. Is that bull you're watching? No, it wasn't, but he's a good, respectful bull. So, and then a couple minutes later, I see this guy walking up and over. I'm like, it was a weird feeling. I'm like, I know for a fact that bull wasn't hurt when he came out. So I'm like, all right, let me go up and try and find blood. So I went straight up to around the knob, and you can smell that like death, musky smell.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I'm gonna wait for Dad to get here because he saw exactly where that bull went around the knob.
Mm-hmm.
So I backtracked and I found a pile of blood like this on this rock with foam in it, one blood.
Yeah.
So I was like, so I backtracked a little bit. I saw more blood. I'm like, okay, maybe he was over here. Perfect. So Dad, he's colorblind.
Oh.
But he can see like big globs of blood.
Yeah.
But anything small, he used to carry around the ball hydrogen peroxide and everything. But he's a really good tracker. So he goes straight up to that knob and he's tracking. And I'm like, okay, a little spot of blood here, a little spot of blood here, a little bit spot of blood here. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, he kind of went up and over. And I kind of had like a little bit sick feeling. I'm like, I know I hit this bull good, but he's not bleeding. But when you think about it, when they run, that bleeding cavity closes up too.
Yeah.
So okay, I'm still being hopeful. We get down in this timber draw and you see skid marks. Dad's like, okay, that bull's hurt. Good. I'm like, okay, perfect. So we go over, and there's this fir tree about that big. You see drag marks where you banged against this tree and everything, and we're looking around. It's like, that bull's laying right there.
Nice.
So that was an awesome hunt. That was day 3 of the 5-day season, which 5-day seasons, as they are,
that's why you put all that time
are
in
very,
beforehand.
are very, very mentally.
Yeah.
Mentally.
Yeah, you got to be ready to
exhausting.
be out there 24/7.
Oh yeah, exactly. And like when you think of it, daylight, you only got 40 hours.
Yeah.
You got 40 hours
true. The
straight.
day's getting short.
Yeah.
That time of year
It's
too.
like you can't go back to the pickup, have lunch. You can't. I mean, you got to be out there every minute, every second of daylight.
Yeah.
For those hunts.
You got your phone on you? I can't check the time. I'll cut this right here.
I just turned it off.
I can remember to get there real quick. Check it. You just put a wall clock up here. 1:44. All right, cool. We still got half an hour.
Okay, perfect.
And we've been recording for half an hour, so that'll be a good length. Okay, so then, this was your first year muzzleloading, right? Second. Okay.
Second. Yep.
And this is your first year with your own muzzleloader, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the last year you did this, you borrowed a muzzleloader, and you borrowed an inline from somebody, right?
Yeah.
So you had a quote modern muzzleloader.
Yeah.
This year you had a traditional muzzleloader,
Uh-huh.
not necessarily a flintlock or anything, still percussion cap.
Yeah.
But also it was, had you just bought it recently, or you had it for a while?
No, it was actually my dad knew this guy.
Oh yeah, that's
right. Yeah. He goes to this guy named Danny. He goes to a lot of the muzzleloader rendezvous shoots and everything.
Yeah.
And Dad sold him a 4-wheeler and stuff. And I told Dad, it's like, hey, if he has one of those muzzleloaders available, like let me know. I'll give you cash and have you buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, got you a Christmas gift. I'm like, what is it? And I look, I'm like, no way, you didn't have to do that. So he got me that as a Christmas gift. But yeah, I grouped really good with that gun before the hunt. But
yeah, it took us a little while of
you
getting used to shooting it, and it seemed like we had a good powder charge. I let you shoot it for a good long time because it used to be, I'd take people out to shoot and I'd get impatient and be like, and I'd shoot it. But, I let you shoot it for a good long time, and then I shot it and I, had 2 rounds touching. So I'm like, okay, like you just got to keep shooting this thing.
Yeah. And then I got my groups down like that, about 50 yards.
Nice.
And it was like, okay, I feel good about it, but I never pulled the trigger. Besides shooting my load out.
You saw lots of, it was a whitetail hunt, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you saw lots of deer out there. You just
passed up.
Whitetail are pretty skittish, so
yeah. Well, I was going for something special.
Not just trying to put meat in the freezer. You probably got plenty of that now, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had 14 different opportunities to fill my tag. If not, maybe a couple more than that, but I saw 3 shooter bucks the 8 days I was out there. 2 in one day. One of them I was on my stand, and I looked up. There's a little opening he's passing through. Cocked my hammer back, and I was ready. But he went through, and then he kind of looped back, but the only thing I could see was his back half. And I'm like, I'm not going to shoot that. So I let up and everything. Of course, you got like 5 different click. It's like, okay, whatever. So I waited until that day. I waited until about 1:30, and then it started warming up, and all the snow was melting off the branches and everything. Which I like to use that noise to still hunt the timber because it kind of covers your noise and all. Yeah. So I go sneaking up this draw, and I found these big buck tracks. Sneak up draw, and I get to the top, and I look over. I see this buck about 20 yards away. I cock my hammer back, go over. I'm like, I can't get a shot. Darn it! So I did it again. So I tried to track him. I tried to loop around him. He never crossed this closed road. So I'm like, okay, I know he's in there. But I hunted that spot for another day, and then I was like, I'm gonna go back to my original spot that I know of. I know there's a lot of hunting pressure in there, but with whitetail bucks, every year they hit the same spot, same areas and all that. It's like regardless of hunting pressure or not. So that I got my days mixed up. Everything's ran together. But so I decided to finally go in there, and I was still hunting. Take 5 steps, stop, look around. 5 steps, stop, look around. Pass up a doe. Found a whitetail buck shed. And then the next day, I ended up finding a 6-point bull shed.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then I snuck up on these 4 does feeding this really, really thick stuff. And because I saw, about 50 yards away, I saw a doe's head go down, up. I'm like, okay, perfect. So she keeps on looking back. So I'm like ready. It was a group of 4 does that walked across. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. It's the rut. And then it was the last morning of last day. I had this good buck broadside at 130, 140 yards chasing a doe. And it's like, as much as I want to shoot, I can't.
It's a little bit of a poke
I
for
can't.
sights.
Yeah, exactly. And especially, it's like, if he goes over one way, he's going to go down a steep, nasty canyon. Goes the other way. I want to make a good ethical shot.
Yeah.
But
for anybody that doesn't know, Oregon's muzzleloader laws are a little bit antiquated. You can't have a scope. You can't have a bullet that has a sabot or any plastic on it at all, even the tip. Let's see what else. I'm pretty sure fiber optic sights are considered illegal. Right?
I think you can use the fiber optic open sight. Ones, but
just no magnification.
Correct. No magnification.
Or electronic.
Yeah.
So no red dot.
Exactly.
So, which I don't know. I've never seen a muzzleloader with a red dot on it.
No kidding. But no pelletized powder.
Yeah.
No 209 primers or any of that.
Yeah, no 209 primers. That's the other one. Everything's got to be percussion cap.
Yeah.
So
I know.
So it's kind of it's challenging here. We've got some good seasons, but there's definitely limitations to your equipment. So.
Yeah. Especially with that hunt too, it's like the snow, the rain, and all that. Like the second day of the season, I was in some deer, and I ended up passing in 3 deer that morning. Actually, there was a fourth good buck I was gonna shoot, but I jumped him 40 yards away. Blew, he jumped, cocked my hammer back, and opened, he was gonna come out, never came out. But it went from sleet to snow to pouring rain to rain and snow mix.
Yeah.
So that day we called it early, about 12:30, because the gun's soaked, everything's soaked, and all that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, rifle deer season, like the weather that time of year, might as well be a vacation on the beach compared
no
to
kidding.
anything later than that.
Yeah.
So.
It's like 80, 85 degrees sometimes.
Yeah.
Middle of the day, but
yeah. It's like 40 at night.
You can
basically sleep outside in a sleeping bag.
Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, it was hunted extremely hard for 8 days, but
and that was all on public land again. Yeah, I have friends that had that same tag, and they all did it on private. And so like they're literally just like driving around the outside of a field trying to get close enough to these deer that are in the middle of it.
Yeah,
basically, and even that's hard enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's like I have permission on private as well, but I like to expose the elements. I like to suffer a little bit. Just like there's been.
When your freezer's full, then you can challenge yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, even just like the years we used to hunt Idaho too, which hopefully soon we can do it again.
Mm-hmm.
But we 7-10 days straight out in the cold, sitting there for 10 hours on a stand. You know, and last year I did the same thing, and there were a few times I was walking back to pick up at dark, and I was shivering miserably, like borderline hypothermia. And one night I get back, pull my glove off. One of these fingers was starting to discolor.
Oh, jeez.
I'm like, all this for a freaking deer, but it's like, I don't know. It's just you just gotta be out there.
Yeah.
You just gotta be out there.
Yeah.